What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be working on my TRX 250EX. Here lately, when I decide to run it, it gets a little kind of a pretty loud tick in the top end, which typically means that your lifters are either too loose or too tight. So I am going to go ahead and strip all of it down, get to where I can access the top of the motor, and we're going to look at the valve lash. I got a little tool on Amazon for probably 12 bucks, 10, 12 bucks. You can do it yourself. It's not a very hard thing to do. It's just a little bit tedious because on these full withers, you have to pretty much strip the whole front end down just to access the top. But the good thing about this is there's actually a cover on top that they're actually attached to. So you don't have to remove the entire top of the motor. You just have to remove two little caps. They're like 17 millimeter bolt caps. And then it'll give us access to the valves. So give me a second. I'm gonna jump on this and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so I got everything removed. I've got a couple of videos that showed me removing it. It's not very hard at all. There's just a couple of bolts and little pop tab pins that you got to remove. Some people remove the gas tank. My gas line that I put on here is long enough that I just undid. There's a cross member bolt, little bracket that goes right here, main bolt here in the top of the motor. I just removed that and then set my gas tank over here because I didn't want to fool with undoing the gas and everything. So what I was saying, these are the 17 millimeter that you're gonna have to undo. There's one on the front and one on the back. Those are gonna give us access to the valves, okay? The main thing we have to do before that though, is this gives us a little peephole to where we can see if we're top dead center. And I've got to remove the 3 bolts off the back of this so I can rotate the motor around to see top dead center. All right, it's a little bit hard to see, but in here, see if I can catch it. It's hard. Maybe you can see it there. There's a little T right there where that arrow meets. That means the motor is now at top dead center. And I'm gonna leave my ratchet on there just like that to make sure it stays in place. But now that we have it top dead center, I'm gonna come up here and I'm gonna loosen these little bolts. I'm gonna get my feeler gauge out. The only difficult thing with the feeler gauge is I'm gonna have to bend it. And I didn't want to have to do that, but the way this angle is right here, I'm gonna have to bend it almost in like a little L shape to get it down in there in between the valve and the lifter right here, just to make sure that it's at the correct valve lash. So I'll get to bend it real quick and then loosen this top bolt up and then we'll adjust it. I got my little feeler gauge. You're looking at 0.13 millimeters or 0.005 inches. That's what it's gonna be. And I had to bend it like this. I might have to do a little bit more bending, but it seemed to get in here. And that is, I mean, really tight. I can't even see if I can get it under the back side. Yeah, so both of my valves are extremely tight. I can't even get the feeler gauge in them. So I'm gonna loosen them up even more and see if I can get this underneath it and then adjust. So I finally got this loose enough that I can get this feeler gauge down in here. Let me show you. And I can move it around in between it. This, I don't have a specific tool to adjust this. Typically, on a lot of other vehicles, it's a, you could use a flathead screw. However, this is like a little square. So what I've been doing is I took my needle nose and I've just been doing small adjustments with it. That's almost. You want it to kind of grab it, but you still want to have that little free play That probably just needs a little bit more of a rotation. And it's a little bit hard, like I said, with this four-wheeler because of the way the lifters are set up. But that seems to be about exactly where we want it. Because we don't have a flathead kind of deal, I'm gonna have to hold it in place with my needle nose, and I'm gonna hand tighten this nut down as far as I can before I grab a wrench, because that nut is gonna hold our setting in place. This is a 10mm. So I'm gonna hold this in our spot. Make that tight. I have finished adjusting the front and the back. The front and the back have a good little grippy feel to it, but not too tight to where I can still slide it, but it still has that. The back's a little hard because I'm using my right hand to do this, but same thing there. You can feel it kind of grab, but I can still slide this through with fairly ease. All right, so I got it all, well, the motor put back together. I don't have the plastics on it yet, everything like that, but I put this back on. Still gotta put the plate back on, but everything seems to be good, looking good. But that's how you do it. It's a fairly simple process. It takes like a $12 part and a couple, couple ratchets and some wrenches, and you can knock it out yourself. A lot of shops probably charge you a lot to do it, but it's something you can do at home. But I appreciate y'all watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.